Hello, how are you? Welcome to the Mum Boss Method. I'm Chrissy, I'm the Mum Boss, and I am coming to you on Sunday morning. It's just gone 11. I've been out for a run, and I thought that today we'd talk about how you can be an absolute mum boss even when you don't feel like it. And I'm hoping that this is the pep talk that many of you need. It's a pep talk I have to remind myself of regularly, if I'm really honest. I have to remind myself of these things all the time because, hey, I'm human too, and we can't get everything right all of the time. And so I'm talking to you about this because it kind of comes off the back of me giving myself a little pep talk a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago, if I'm really honest with you. So I realized I wasn't bringing my energy, the energy that I'm known for, to life. I was going through the motions a bit. It's really true that I was tired. The perimenopause insomnia has been kicking my ass. And honestly, regularly having so little sleep makes it hard for me to show up in certain areas of my life when I'm surviving on about 3 hours sleep. So I was training, but I wasn't giving it 100%. I was getting the steps in just, my food wasn't too bad, but my energy was flat. My mum boss energy was flat. I was meh. I was surviving. My mood was low. And when I reflected on this and I journaled on this, after a couple of like awkward conversations with some of my friends and my husband and, getting a bit stressed with Charlie or something, I realised that I just wasn't being a mum boss and I wasn't showing up in a way that I try to encourage all of you to show up. And you might think, well, what do you mean, Chrissy? What does that even mean? What does being a mum boss really even mean? You see, being a mum boss is not just about smashing your workouts or nailing your nutrition, getting your steps in, getting your water in, getting enough sleep, getting your downtime. Honestly, being a mum boss is a whole mood. It's a mindset, it's a vibe. And this mum boss wasn't living it or breathing it or being it. Now, my tagline is to show up for you so that you can show up for other people. And that means showing up for you even when you don't want to, even when it's the last thing that you want to do, even when everything going on around you feels like absolute dog shit. And I know, and I don't underestimate how hard that might be. And everyone has different situations and life circumstances. And what I'm going to be talking through today, I'm going to give you some little examples. I'm going to give you some big examples. Okay. And I know that a few of my clients are going through unimaginably tough situations at the moment. People in my family are going through unimaginably, why can I not say that word, tough situations at the moment. People around me are. And one of the things that I encourage all of them to do is to step into their mum boss mindset and show up for themselves. But here's why it's different. Because you might see other coaches or other influencers online saying how they do the hard stuff even when they don't want to, and you just need to dig in and find your strength. That's not what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong, if you want to live your life in the best way possible, at times you are going to have to dig in. You are going to need to get up when the alarm goes off, even if it's warm and comfy and you really don't want to. You're going to need to cook the healthy meals instead of stopping at the takeaway on the way home, even when you are dog tired. I felt that on Friday. I so could have just sent Charlie down to the kebab shop and got a chicken shish for dinner, but I cooked the dinner. But being a mum boss is more than just taking those actions and getting on with it. It's more than getting to the gym. It's more than hitting your steps. It's more than drinking your water. It's more than cooking your meals. And like I said before, it's a mindset, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of showing up, of approaching life, even when life feels rubbish and you don't feel like it. Because there's not a one, there's not a one thing I can say that just think this, apart from show up for you. Because every situation is going to be different. Every day is going to be different. Grabbing your inner mum boss and letting her come to the surface is going to look different every single day for you. It's going to look different every single hour. And because there's no one size fits all, because all of you that are listening have got different lives and different circumstances, it's not black or white, it's shades of grey. And you know what? I think that's something that it took me a really long time to understand. Someone who is big in, the fitness industry, and that I hugely respect, is Chloe Madeley. And she says, life isn't good, it isn't bad, life just is. And I'm reading the Let Them theory, and some of you have joined my book club to also talk about that. And I'm pretty sure in something that I read like last week, Mel Robbins says the same thing. Life isn't good or bad. Life is stressful. Life's, it's stressful, it's sad, it's hard, it's tiring. So that really took me a long time to, I don't feel like I always am very good at working in the grey. I feel like things either have to be good or bad. They have to be black or white. You have to, I used to always think you have to be on plan or off plan. And so the days back then when I had very little sleep, I automatically woke up and it was a bad day. But now I think on a day where I've only had bad sleep, if I manage to put on matching socks and a bit of makeup, that's being a mum boss, and that's okay. Because being a mum boss is about learning how to manage your energy and how to recognize what you need. You might be standing, in your own way, and being a mum boss is seeing where you're doing that, taking responsibility for yourself and your actions and taking steps towards your goal, even when everything sucks. For me, that's recognizing when I need to say no, when I need to stick to my boundaries and protect my time, saying no to plans, or sometimes even cancelling those plans. Get an early night when I really would rather be watching TV. And being a mum boss is about creating self-awareness and awareness of other people. So being aware of who or what drains your energy and your mood, who or what gives you energy and lifts your mood, what triggers you, in what situations don't you show up as your best self, and how does that hinder you? How does that help you? What are you trying to control that isn't actually within your power to control? And so you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy to even try and do that. I remember when my brother and sister-in-law got married last October, and October's not the easiest of times to plan a wedding for. When is there an easy time to plan a wedding for in this country? You could pick August and still end up with rain. But, everyone was saying to Shaba, oh, I really, I hope it doesn't rain. I hope it doesn't rain. She was like, I can't do anything about the weather. There are so many other things that I could be thinking about and making plans for that I can control. The weather isn't one of them. Why am I wasting my energy? And you know what? For a lot of the day, it absolutely chucked down. But the wedding was still beautiful. We still had an amazing time, and it really didn't matter. And it actually made everyone laugh. So stop trying to control the things that you can't control. Think about what you're not taking responsibility for. Where are you not taking responsibility for your actions and your behaviors? I created the Mum Boss method to be this way. I created it. It's not just about calories and exercise and those things. I created the Mum Boss method because the principles behind the Mum Boss method got me through and continue to get me through some of the most difficult situations in my life. Early perimenopause, miscarriage, several episodes of very, very dark, low moods, loss, grief, family sickness, addiction, disordered eating. This isn't a whole woe is me episode. I'm really open about the struggles that I've been through, and I talk about them when it's appropriate. But all of these things were the things that led me to creating the Mum Boss method. And I want you to remember that your strength and who you are becoming and who you are trying to be is not measured by the perfect days. It's measured by how you handle the imperfect ones. And I say this often, the days when you only have 40% to give and you give all of that 40%, you've actually given 100%. And every small choice you make, every decision you take is a vote for the person that you're becoming. It's a vote for the person that you are trying to be. So I wanted to create this, the Mum Boss method is a movement. It's more than just how you get to be in the body that you feel most comfortable in. It's so much more than that. It is about your attitude and your mood and your approach and your resilience. So I'm going to give you 5 ways to implement this and bring out your inner mum boss so that you can smash down the walls that either you've put in front of yourself or other people are putting in front of you, and you can go after your goals and become the person that you want to be and live the best possible life that you want to be, so that you are dancing on the dance floor and you're not sitting around the edges of life looking in at everyone else having a nice time. Because I tell you something, when I'm in my 90s, I don't want to sit back and go, oh, I wish I'd stuck to my calories a bit more. I want to go, yeah, I had a great time and I didn't let negative BS pull me down. And instead, I chose to reframe some of my negative thoughts and negative situations so that I could get in there and enjoy life. That's what I want to be thinking when I'm in my 90s. Yes, I danced on the dance floor and I enjoyed it. So let me go through these 5 ways to implement this and bring out your inner mum boss. Okay. Number 1, and these are all things that I've mentioned already in the first half of this episode, but I want to really go through, and I've got some examples to share with you. I need a little sip of my water. I think I might be a bit dehydrated. Okay, so number 1 is learn how to recognize and manage your energy. And here, I'm not just talking about the physical energy of feeling tired and getting enough sleep. I'm talking about your mental energy and your capacity, your social energy, your mood, your attitude. And I know that this can be really tough for a couple of reasons, because firstly, our instincts are to do, please, please, please everyone by saying yes and spreading ourselves too thin. And most often this just leaves us resentful and exhausted. I know that we could have different energy capacities than the people closest to us. Like, my social battery is not as big as my husband's social battery. My capacity, my energy to keep exercising is probably bigger than his. So even when I am tired, I'll crack on, whereas he'll go, no, I'm not going today. And some of that's, me just being stubborn. So like differences in physical energy, differences in social energy. So creating self-awareness around the times that you need to be around other people or when you need to be alone, recognizing when you might be acting in a way that does or doesn't align with who you are and how you want others to perceive you. Being aware of how your actions and your energy affect not only you, but those around you. And that effect might not fit in with your long-term goals. Because remember, you might be listening to this episode because you are trying to get fit, get healthy, get strong, maybe lose weight, right? That might be, and that's what I'm known for. But let me tell you something. Creating that person that you want to be is about an identity shift. And there has to be an identity shift in this, because if you don't change your identity from who you were, from the person that got you to where you are now, which, you know, might not physically or mentally be the best version of yourself, you are going to need to change that identity. I changed my identity from my 20s and from my 20s through my early 30s, now into my 40s. You know, I've had multiple identity changes. That doesn't mean I'm changing the core of who I am, but I changed my identity from someone who rarely exercised to someone that exercises, you know, 5 or 6 times a week. I changed my identity from someone who you know, drinks quite a lot over the week, over the course of a weekend, to someone who can go weeks and weeks without drinking, because she recognizes how it affects her mental health, her physical health, and her mental and social well-being and energy. Okay. So really, kind of, this is about thinking about the type of person you want to be and what that means for the things that you do and the things that you don't do. So let me give you an example. Before I went on this journey myself, I was going through early perimenopause. I didn't know it. I thought actually I was depressed and suffering with anxiety and my mental health. But it wasn't a stand alone issue. You know, I was suffering with those things, but they were part of being perimenopausal. And let me be really clear with you, I was not pleasant to be around, for my husband, for my son, for my family, for my friends. I felt so low a lot of the time. I was snappy, I was defensive, I was abrasive with everyone. And looking back now, I honestly realised I was feeling so sorry for myself. But it took me ages to take action on that. I was miserable, and I really didn't appreciate how my actions affected everyone around me. One of the things that I've learned over the years is to recognize when I'm starting to feel like this and take action against it. And that sounds simple, but I know it's really, really not. But here's the truth though, you can control the thoughts that you let swirl around your head. You might feel really low and bad about a certain situation, but you have choices on how you react to that situation. And you can take the negative feelings, let them swim around, listen to them and believe them and act on them, so that whatever negative behavior comes, you know, will come to the forefront, and you know, you'll throw that around, you'll act that out. That's what I used to do. Or you can sit with those feelings, you can learn to recognize them, you can sit with the thoughts, you can acknowledge them and acknowledge that actually you can change the state that you're in that particular moment in time. And I'm not saying that's going to change the situation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can change your outlook in a particular moment in time. You know, if you're sick, you've I don't know, you've had a really lovely weekend planned and you catch a really bad cold and you have to cancel all your plans. That's really horrible and sad. And you know, maybe you were planning on seeing some friends that you hadn't seen in ages and ages. And in fact, this is happening for one of my clients this very weekend. She was due to be meeting up with some family that she hadn't seen in a long time, and she's got COVID, and so she is stuck at home, and she's had to cancel all her plans, and she's isolating from the rest of the family, and that's rubbish. That was me 2 Christmases ago. But is she sitting and feeling sorry for herself? No, she can't change the fact that she's got COVID. You know, same as me 2 Christmases ago. I couldn't change the fact that I had COVID, but I made the best of a bad situation by going all the way to Suffolk, where my parents also had COVID, and I spent COVID with them, away from Tom and Charlie and Tom's family, because I didn't want to get everyone else sick. But I made the best of a bad situation. I could have sat at home made the boys stay at home with me on Christmas Day, felt sorry for myself. But how would that have changed the fact that I had COVID? It wouldn't have. Just would have made everyone feel miserable. I promise you that changing your outlook, changing your mindset when things are tough, and everyone's tough is different, but also everyone's tough is valid. You know, we don't walk in each other's shoes. And so when you're in the midst of your tough, I was talking to one of my other clients yesterday actually about something that she's going through, and it's awful, and I'm so sad for her. And that tough, I can't imagine, because it is not something, I'm touch wood, I've been through, and I can't imagine how she's dealing with it. I can't put myself in those shoes because I've not been there. And that's really tough. But on the days when my life feels tough, that's really tough on me. Like, we all live through our tough, and we're all living in it, and we can't put ourselves in each other's shoes because we're not feeling that. We've not necessarily all experienced that. But being resilient and making decisions to move forward is so much more powerful. It's a much better use of your energy. And that to me is gold. When I learned that, and I learned how to do that, I would much rather be enjoying my life where I can than wasting energy on the negative, bad thoughts and mood. And that's so freeing. That has been, because that was something I lived in my teens through to my late 30s, was just sitting within the situation and trying to control things that weren't within my control. Okay. So number 2 is take responsibility. And this is a really tough one, but here I want you to think about not saying the word but or because when you tell someone why you have or haven't done something, or when you are talking to yourself about, things not being right, or you're beating yourself up because something, didn't go right. So, for example, and I'm going to start with like the nutrition, the obvious things, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper on this as well. So, for example, I didn't stick to my nutrition plan this week, but I didn't sleep well, you could say, I didn't stick to my nutrition plan this week, but I didn't sleep well. Or you could also say, I didn't hit my workouts this week because work was so busy. Instead, I want you to take out the but and the because. I didn't stick to my nutrition plan and I didn't hit my workouts. That's it. Just keep it factual. Because that way you can make a plan to improve. You can make a contingency for next time. This is taking responsibility for yourself. This is taking responsibility for your actions, right? If we put it in the context of the first tip I gave you, I'm not going to the gym today because I don't feel like it. I'm not going to the gym today, but that's okay because I'm in a bad mood. I'm not going to show up for myself today. Like, let's make it really broad. I'm not going to show up for myself today because I feel annoyed at something that happened yesterday. I'm in a mood. I'm not going to show up for myself today because I'm in a mood. Take away the but and the because. I'm not going to show up for myself today. I haven't stuck to my nutrition plan. I haven't done my workouts. I've not tried to break away from this bad mood. When you find yourself next making an excuse, either to yourself or someone else, I want you to try just taking away the but and the because, and instead own what you have or haven't done. That extreme ownership is so powerful. And I'm not doing this to make you feel bad. I'm saying how powerful this is. So, example, yesterday morning, this is real life, true story. I forgot I was meant to be having a business meeting and I completely missed it. And I thought about messaging the person I was meant to be meeting and giving them a whole load of excuses. But instead, I called her and I said, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. I didn't check my messages and I didn't check my diary this morning. That's it. This is my fault. I completely forgot. I wasn't organised and I will do better. I took responsibility. I apologised for wasting her time. So taking that extreme responsibility for the things you have or haven't done, because you know the reasons you have or haven't done them. And listen, some of them might be valid. I haven't worked out this week. I've been sick. You know, if you're really ill, you shouldn't be working out. I've had a stomach bug, so no, I haven't stuck to my nutrition plan because I can barely keep toast down. Like, we know the difference. We know the difference between something that is a valid reason for not doing something or doing something and something that is just an excuse. Okay, number 3, I want you to think of each choice that you make as a vote for the person you're becoming. And remember that it's not just about showing up for you. It's about why you show up for you. And normally that's for the other people that you love in life. So here's an example. As I've already said, in the few weeks where I haven't been the Chrissy I know that I'm able to be, I was an absolute cow to my husband. I was an absolute cow to my husband. And we were having work done in the house. It was messy, it was dirty, there was furniture everywhere. Add to that my huge lack of sleep. This isn't me making excuses. I was making excuses when I was in it. There were some family situations and problems that I'm not going to go into on here, but it left for a very grumpy, very snappy, very defensive, very woe is me Chrissy, who took everything bad that happened, big or small, to heart and personally. I was not nice to be around. I was, it took me a good few days to realize that, which is great because I could have not realized it at all or realized too late. But the thing was, now looking back, every single choice I made, the choice to be grumpy and snappy, I snapped at Tom and I snapped at Charlie too. That's a vote for me that takes their moods out on other people, which ultimately doesn't really help me. It doesn't put the vote in the box for the person I want to become, and in fact it does the opposite. What I could have done in that situation were realize that things that weren't ideal right there and then, acknowledge and share my feelings and make a choice to do something that would help change my state and mood rather than snap at my husband and tell him that it's okay for him. He has it easier because he's going out to work all day and he doesn't have to look at the mess and he sleeps well and woe is me and life is so difficult. I'm pathetic when I think about myself like that. Yes, my life did feel difficult in those moments, but how is it taking it out on Tom going to help me feel better? How is snapping at my son going to sort it out? How is being cranky at anyone going to fix that situation? It won't. And in all the situations we have in the world, like in our lives, there are things that aren't going to be a simple fix. But you still get to choose how you respond and react to those feelings and sensations and thoughts that are on a negative loop in your head. Another small example of this, I literally just got back from a run with the dog like 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago from recording this. And he was filthy when we got in. Now, I felt a little bit dizzy just as I walked in the house, and I didn't grab him quick enough, and he ran looking for Tom and got mud all over the clean bedding. and Tom wasn't happy. And I thought Tom was moody with me for not grabbing the dog and carrying him up the stairs and bathing him straight away. And Tom literally walked out of the door to go to football with Charlie. And like, I thought he was in a mood with me. And I stripped the bed straight away. I put it straight in the wash, and I caught myself having this internal conversation. And these are things that I never used to catch myself doing. I just used to have the internal conversation. And no word of a lie, this is how I was talking. Right, well, I'm just going to hang out in my bed all day now and read. And that'll teach him for being cross with me. And it's not my fault. And if he comes up and asks where I am, I'll tell him to leave me alone. And that'll teach him for, not knowing that the dog was running up the stairs and then trying to blame me. Did he not know that, I'd just come back from a run and I was knackered and I felt dizzy? That'll teach him. Who's that helping? No one. Not one person is benefiting from that narrative I have in my head, apart from my inner chimp or my ego thinking it's got one up on everyone else. But actually, all that'll do is make for a miserable day for me, for Tom, and for Charlie, and probably for Henry. So instead, I messaged him and I said, I'm so sorry. I was dizzy from my run. I should have grabbed him or called you. I didn't think. The sheets have been washed. No harm done. And he was like, it's fine. I wasn't mad at you. I was mad at the situation. Why are you dizzy? Are you okay? Like, all he cared about was, why am I dizzy? And in my head, while I'm bathing the dog, I'm not having this whole, we were probably divorced, to be quite honest. We were divorced after about 6 minutes. That'll teach him, right? That'll teach him. I'll divorce him over this. Ridiculous. That was the old me. This would have just been another example of things going wrong in my life. I would have sat in that bedroom all day and thought about all the things that was going on wrong in my life, and woe is me. Poor me. I'm really aware that at the moment there are some big things going on in the wider areas of my life that are horrible, but I know, really I'm healthy and I'm happy, and I know it's really not that bad for me. But I would have been woe is me all day. And then because I'm tired, I've been for a run, probably didn't get quite enough sleep last night. Because I would have lay there ruminating on it, and Tom wouldn't have come upstairs and apologized, because he would have been like, God, what is this? I probably wouldn't have slept, because I would have been playing it all over in my head. There's an insight into my mind. Okay, number 4, thinking about what you can do instead of thinking about all the things you can't do. Now, I've said this already. If you've only got 40% to give and you give that 40%, you've actually given 100%. And I also say a little of something is way better than a lot of nothing. And this bit of advice is really, really practical to apply. Again, if we take it to that level of, if you can't get 4 workouts in, but you can get 2 in or 1 in, do them. If you can't hit your fruit and veg target, that's fine. What can you do? Okay, they're the really base level things that you could think about. They're the really simple choices you can make in your life. And here's how to apply it to some of the bigger things. Here's how I've applied it today, right? Like I said, I'm tired. I've been for a run. I don't really feel like I've had much free weekend time for the last couple of weeks. I knew I needed to record this podcast. I've got to drive to Watford and get my new glasses. And so, having a whole relaxing day ahead of me is not That's not possible. It's not going to be the whole day. But I knew that I could get this podcast done, and then when I've done this, I'm going to drive and go and get my glasses. And then I know the rest of the afternoon is mine. So I might not get the whole day. You know, by the time I get back from Watford, it'll be like 1:15, 1:30. Okay, fine. I haven't got the whole day, but I've got the whole afternoon to chill. If I had given in to my inner chimp, my bad mood, my negative thought patterns after the dog and the dirt situation, do you think I would have been relaxed for the rest of the afternoon? Absolutely not. I might have read my book, but I tell you something, every couple of pages I would have been looking at my phone and grumbling under my breath, well, he hasn't texted me, hasn't asked me if I want a cup of tea, he's not come up to see if I'm all right. You can choose, and this is a big one, to think different thoughts and not believe the thoughts in your head. And this one takes practice. I've proven it takes practice by telling you what happened this morning. But when you can do it more consistently, I promise you it is life-changing. I promise you. And it does not have to be connected to food and exercise. It's connected to everything, to every negative thought that you have. Realizing you don't have to think that, and you don't have to believe it, and you don't have to act on it. I have these really big points to make, and then I stumble over my words and it like dilutes the message. I'm really annoyed. But anyway, it doesn't just have to be about your food and your exercise, but it is life-changing. It is life-changing. It keeps you present. You know, when we worry about things that when we're anxious and we're worrying about things that haven't happened yet, that's a waste of energy. When we're replaying things that have happened in the past, if I had continued today to replay that situation this morning, what a waste of energy. It goes back to what I was talking about in step number 1. It's a waste of energy. This keeps you in the present. What can I do? What positive actions can I do? And that leads into the last one, controlling the controllable. You have to realize that we really only have control over ourselves. You know, yes, we have a margin of control over our children, and we might think we have a margin of control over our other halves, but really every human being has control over themselves. There is so much in this life we have no control over. So recognizing that you know, you can control yourself and there are a limited number of other things that you can control is so powerful. So if you're sitting agonizing over something you have no control over, you're wasting a whole load of time and a whole load of energy on something you can do absolutely nothing about, like the weather. Oh, what if it rains? Oh, look at this weather. I'm so fed up with it. Oh, I'm ill. I spent the first 3 weeks of January ill. And for the first couple of days, I was like, oh, this is rubbish. Can't, like, actually, what can I do in that situation to make myself better? Well, woe is me is not going to get me better. Resting is going to get me better. Drinking my water, trying to get a bit of fresh air, eating well is going to get me better. But really, that's ultimately the only input I have into it. Rest, what I eat, what I drink. So stop wasting energy trying to control the things you can't control. And it's in these situations that we often shut down and we wallow and we feel self-indulgently sorry for ourselves, which I was, you know, I wrote a lot of this podcast yesterday afternoon. And when I came back and that happened this morning, I was like, I need to talk about that. I need to talk about that in this podcast because it just was a perfect example of it. I would have been sitting upstairs, wallowing, feeling self-indulgently sorry for myself and actually just ruining everyone's day. And believe me, I have done that before. I've been there before. I've ruined the whole weekend. I've just remembered this. I once We were going to one of Tom's old friend's wedding, and it was a Sikh wedding. And so us, like the girls, the wives and girlfriends, had got saris to wear, and we'd all kind of coordinated and had like help from the bride and the bridesmaids on what we were going to be wearing. And I couldn't get my hair to go right. I just couldn't get it to go right. It looked dreadful. And I was like, right, you go without me. And he did, he left without me. And then I was sitting there feeling all sorry for myself, and he'd been gone like 6 minutes, and I phoned him and told him to come back and get me. And he did come back and get me. It nearly made us late for that wedding. But it's like that cutting your nose off to spite your face situation. Did your parents or grandparents ever say that to you? Don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Instead, I want you to flip this. And I'm not telling you that the bad days don't feel really horrible and that the hurtful situations don't hurt. I'm not telling you to crack on like it's not happening. I'm telling you that, yes, sometimes things are shit, and yes, they hurt, and yes, they're unfathomable. But you do have a choice with how you react and how you respond. And that's being a mum boss, is recognizing that. And you know, something that I do for myself is I set a timer for myself. And I say, right, I'm going to feel angry, hurt, sad, upset about this for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to figure out what I can do here. And I take the same with my, you know, sometimes my negative feelings come out in the form of procrastination. Like I have to do something that is just completely mind numbing just to kind of move away. That's probably my coping mechanism instead of eating. But I'll set a timer for myself, right? You're going to feel annoyed about this for 10, 15 minutes, and then you're going to move on. And that's a really practical tool. Set a timer, give yourself some time to just wallow and be upset in it, and then do something positive to change your state. And I'm going to talk about changing your state next week, because that's something I've really been looking at this week, and I want to share it with you. So here's what I want you to do right now. Okay, we're at 42 minutes 45, right? I want you to do this right now. So it's only going to take you another couple of minutes, and then you've given 45 minutes to yourself. I want you to think of one thing, just one small, tiny thing that you can do today to show up for yourself. Not tomorrow's version of you, not the Instagram version of you, but the real you, right here, right now. That's your first step to mum bossing it today. And you know what? If that means I got out of my pajamas, well done. If that means actually I've been procrastinating on going and doing an exercise session, then that's what it is. Like it does, because your actions are for you, they're not for me. But I want you to take one small action that you can do to show up for yourself today, and do it. Commit to yourself. And that is being a mum boss. Now, if you've listened to this and you're like, I like the sound of this being a mum boss, yes, you will like being a mum boss. So if you would like to know how you can come and be part of the mum boss movement, you can have me as your coach to help you to reach your health, your fitness, your strength goals as a busy working, maybe perimenopausal mum. Then check the links in the show notes, get in contact with me, because I would love to help you. You will love being a mum boss. Being a mum boss is awesome. And all the things that we've talked about today, plus loads more, are the things that make you a mum boss. So have an awesome day. I've just caught sight of myself in the Zoom reflection. My hair is crazy. Have an awesome day, and I will speak to you later. Bye.